Chair Merritt, the meeting is live.
Thank you. This is a meeting of the Northwest Planning Advisory Committee being held on Zoom and being broadcast on YouTube on the HRM channel. I'll begin by calling the meeting to order and having a roll call, please. And I will start with Vice Chair Nick Horn. Okay. Councillor Kathy Diggle-Gammon.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Deputy Mayor Tim Oathead, are you still Deputy Mayor?
Not anymore. It's just
No.
regular old plain Jane councillor now, but I'm glad to be here and happy holidays to all.
Thank you. Member Jordan Foster.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Gina Jones-Wilson has sent regrets for this evening. Jacqueline Levere.
Good evening.
Thank you. Donelda McIsaac.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Stacy Rutherham.
Good evening.
Hello. And I am Ann Merritt, Chair. Okay, staff members present are Daryl Jodry, Planner, case number 21639. Thea Langell, Principal Planner, Rural Policy and Applications, case number 23834. Melissa Evis, Planner, case 23824. Alicia Wall, a Legislative Support, and Andrea Lavassi Wood, who is our Legislative Assistant. We'll begin by asking for approval of the minutes of October 6th. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of October 6th, 2021, please?
So moved, Tim.
I will like a seconder for that, please.
Second.
Moved, thank you. Moved by Councillor Oathead, seconded by Donelda McIsaac. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are there any errors or omissions first? Did anyone notice any errors or omissions? Okay, thank you. Okay, now the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded, nay. The motion is carried. Now, approval of the order of business and approval of any additions and deletions. Are there any additions or modifications to the agenda? Can the clerk answer me, please? I guess.
My apologies, Chair Merritt. Slow with the mute button today. No, there's no additions or deletions to the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, just quickly, Andrea, has Councillor Lovelace been able to join us? She texted me that she was trying to join us.
I'm just sending her the link now.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do the members have any changes to request to the order of items?
I move to accept the order of business, Madam Chair.
That was Councillor Diggle-Gammon.
Yes, it was.
Okay, thank you. And is there a seconder? Okay, Stacy, you have your hand up. Or no, I guess that's not. That's my Zoomer.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Diggle-Gammon, seconded by Stacy Rutherham, that we accept the minutes as
Order of business.
as pardon?
The order of business.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the order of business as circulated. Okay. Where are we? Okay, we're calling for a declaration of conflict of interest. If anyone has a conflict of interest with any of the items that we're going to be looking at tonight, we ask you to say so now, please. Hearing none, I'll assume that we have none. Consideration of deferred business, there is none. Correspondence, petitions, and delegations. Is there any correspondence The clerk?
Chair Merritt, there's no correspondence.
Okay, thank you. All right, petitions. I guess there are no petitions either.
No, the clerk's office received no petitions.
Okay, thank you. And there are no presentations. So we'll go right on to the reports. The first one being the staff report on case number 23812, which is 216 and 218 Carboquid Road, Lower Sackville. This is a request to amend an existing development agreement to allow for addition of a parcel of land that will permit balconies facing Glendale Drive and Carboquid Road. Okay, and I believe Mr. Jodry is going to present this.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Just give me a second to share the screen.
Thank you.
This application, excuse me, this application is for an approved development agreement at 216 Carboquid Road. And it was to allow an apartment building at the corner of Carboquid Road and Glendale Drive. And I was actually the author of that original development agreement, and happy to be back here doing the amendment. The applicant is Teal Architects and Planners. And as we said, the location is 216 and 218 Carboquid Road in Lower Sackville. And the proposal is to add a small portion of formerly provincially owned lands to the approved site plan. And once this is done, it will enable construction of balconies on Glendale Drive and Carboquid Road elevations without encroachment. If this land hadn't been added, the balconies would have needed an encroachment license or agreement with the province, which are probably difficult to get and easier to buy the land. The site, as you can see, is at the corner of Glendale Drive and Carboquid Road. And this is a four-story, the proposal is a four-story apartment building. And we had some issues with the original application. We discovered in the process that the balconies facing onto the streets could not be allowed, and we eliminated the balconies facing onto Merritt Court because of privacy issues. So this addition of land will allow balconies at least on two sides of the building. On the left-hand image, the yellow triangle is the portion of land that is to be added. The square footage is approximately 1,440 square feet, and the triangle is roughly 208 feet by 212 feet arms, and the smaller portion is approximately 17 feet across. And it is sufficient for the balconies to extend over. This is a view of the site taken from the intersection of Glendale Drive and Carboquid Road, looking at the former building that was there. And the image on the right-hand side is taken at the intersection of Mallock Court and Carboquid Road, looking towards the site. This is the site plan that the applicant has submitted. The land to be added is shown in the dark blue, and I don't know if you can see it, but the balconies are drawn on in they are just a simple black line, and it shows 4 protrusions from the building, and those are the balconies that they are hoping to achieve. And this is an illustration of the building with balconies. The designation of the lands is community commercial, and this allowed council to consider new multiple unit buildings under the development agreement provisions of the HRM charter. The policy that enabled the consideration was CC6, and it allows multiple council to consider multiple unit buildings by DA. And we looked at the community concerns, scale, the form, compatibility, landscaping, site design, traffic, and that services were adequately addressed. Under the land use bylaw, the zone is the C2 or community commercial zone. The existing use on the lands was a mixed use building. Under an as of right situation, under this same zone, it would have permitted a commercial building 35 feet in height with 50% lot coverage and with 30 feet frontage or flankage yards with 15 feet side and rear yards. Enabling policy CC6 directed council to consider such things as the compatibility with the adjacent land uses, to look at the site design features and determine if they were adequate in size and design. Question if the municipal services can support the development, and environmental concerns, including stormwater management, were part of the overview. The siting distances, site entrances, and exits were all covered under the traffic impact study that was prepared. And general maintenance was given a clause, a section in the development agreement, and also the general provisions of policy IM 13 that apply to all development agreements was considered also as part of the policy evaluation. The public engagement for this application was a mail out notification, and the planning applications webpage at halifax.ca. There were 72 notifications mailed, excuse me, and there were no contacts, there were no phone calls or emails received from this mail out. The scope of the review, the policies that I have selected that I determined apply to this application were CC6A, that it had to do with the height, bulk, lot coverage, and appearance, and its compatibility with adjacent land uses. And also under the implementation policies, IP13A, that the proposal is in conformity with the intent of this planning strategy and the requirements of the other all municipal bylaws and regulations, and also IP13C, that any controls are placed on the proposed development to reduce conflict with adjacent or nearby land use. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I will now call on the members for their questions or comments. And we will start with Jordan Foster.
Could you go back to slide 5, please? So you said that the blue land was kind of what's in question here, and that some of the balconies were indicated just with the simple black marking. Could you clarify what there's another separate black marking, kind of a rectangle shape detached from the building?
I'm sorry, I can't read the type from here, and I don't have the drawings on hand. You mean the square that is sitting alone in the blue land?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I don't know what that is. Can't recall.
Okay, probably not critical anyhow. I have no further questions though. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Jordan. Okay, Jacqueline Levert. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want a clarification. If I'm understanding correctly, the apartment building was previously approved, and what we're looking at is only the addition of balconies, which is made possible by that addition of land. Is that right?
Madam Chair, that is correct. That is what the ask was from the applicant. The balconies were not going to be permitted otherwise.
Thank you.
Thank you. Donalda McIsaac.
No, I'm fine. I have no.
Okay. Thank you. Stacy Rutherham.
I looked at the documents that were sent to us with the invitation, and that rectangle is referred to as a transformer pad. So it's probably something to do with tying in with the services for electricity.
Great, thank you.
Other than that, I don't have any questions. I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Diggle-Gammon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I drive by this site quite often, actually. I'll take the back road out of Fall River and I go by this. I guess I'm awfully glad that those balconies aren't on Malloch Port, because it is so close, the privacy between that building and the nice little cul-de-sac. So yeah, I really don't have any issue. I don't think that the balconies probably will be a nice addition for those people that are going to rent.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Oatet.
Hi, Madam Chair. No, I don't have any concerns or any questions at this time. Thanks.
Oh, your dog does.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I just have a question. Right now, and like Councillor Diggle-Gammon says, she drives by quite often, and I've driven by quite often myself in the last few days, and noticed that right now half of the sidewalk is being taken up by the cladding around the building. And I'm wondering, how close are those balconies going to be to the sidewalk? Can you answer that?
Madam Chair, all I can tell you for sure is that they will not be overhanging the sidewalks. That would require a right-of-way encroachment permit, which is the whole avoidance they were seeking. The strip of green that you see is actually landscaping that is between the building and the sidewalk.
Okay, so once that cladding is down, everything's going to move back considerably then. Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. And now I will ask that someone please
Excuse me, Chair Merritt. Councillor Paul Russell joined the meeting shortly after we began, and I believe that he may have a question or comment about this case.
Okay. Councillor Russell, did you have something you wanted to add here?
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be in the meeting. Yeah, that transformer pad, the square that Jordan was wondering about, Stacey, you're bang on with that. I met with the developer and he had been interested in buying this property with the original design. And so the original design was basically the apartment building minus the balconies. Timing didn't work quite right. So once he had completed the purchase of the land, that's when they went for the amendment to the DA that leads us to where we are now. It will be, I think, a welcome addition to the area. Some people were concerned in the neighborhood, but the additional apartments, I don't think, I haven't heard any concerns about the additional apartments. So I'm pleased to see this where it is and look forward to what the future holds for it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just had something else jump into my mind here, and I would like to just have it clarified. I don't recall what was in the design for parking. Can you answer that? Okay.
Madam Chair,
yes.
If I remember correctly, there are 8 surface parking spaces, I believe, where you come in off of Carboquid Road for guests and for I believe just all the others. Then the driveway that comes in that comes in between the building and Merrick, the driveway actually goes to underground parking.
Okay, that was my, I just needed to have that brought back into my head again because I was wondering where people were going to park there. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. Okay, from there, can we have recommendation motion, please? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I don't mind recommending that we accept the changes proposed to the building.
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. And the seconder?
I'll second that.
I saw a hand go up and I heard a voice that didn't sound like it came from the hand. So could you
The
please?
voice was mine.
Okay.
This is now my hand. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jordan. Okay, moved by Jacqueline and seconded by Jordan that we accept the changes and recommend approval. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
I,
Contrary minded? Nay. I'm hearing nothing, so I will declare that this motion has been passed. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to Mr. Emodi, who was here from the representing the proponent. And I will ask him now to hang up his phone. Thank you.
Anne, it's Tim. I had to step away for a moment there, if you noticed, just because there was something going out the door here. But I did support that, just for the record. That was unanimous.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Then moving along, we have our second case, number 23834, which is in another part of town, 5 Bridle Path, Hammond's Plains. This is a request to enter into a development agreement to allow a commercial recreation use, the Little Gym of Halifax. And the presentation will be by Thea Langell. We are being very honored tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let's see if I can share my screen successfully. All right. All right. I believe that was successful. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Northwest Planning Advisory Committee. My name is Thea Langell. I'm the Principal Planner of the Rural Policy and Applications team. And I'm here this evening presenting on behalf of one of my staff, Claire, who's not able to be here this evening. She's actually, it turned out she was on holidays this week, was going to be available if it was last week. So I'm just going to step in for her and try my best to provide an overview for you this evening of this particular application. So the application before you for your consideration is one for 5 Bridle Path in Hammond's Plains. And specifically what the proposal is, it's to allow for an expansion of a business that's called the Little Gym of Halifax. That particular land use falls under the category of a commercial recreation use. It presently is operating in an existing commercial building at 2,000 square feet of floor area. But because of the restrictions within that particular zone for the square footage of commercial space, they are limited to the 2,000 square feet. And then by development agreement, we can consider an expansion to that use, and they would like to go up to the 4,000 square feet. So a little bit of a background for you for the advisory committee. Currently, there is a development agreement registered on this property. Chair, you may remember when we looked at this development agreement back in 2011. It was for a development agreement to allow a kennel or doggy daycare. And that particular use has not been commenced. There is a commercial building on the site, but they never went forward with that particular development as a doggy daycare at that location. So as part of this application, what we're suggesting that we also look at discharging that existing development agreement and enter into a new development agreement on the property that would allow the consideration of a larger commercial recreation use, which is the Little Gyms of Halifax. So a little bit of site context for you. We are out in the Hammonds Plains community, showing there in red, and the site boundary is also shown in the slide here. And it's near Citation Drive and on a private lane referred to as Bridle Path. Here's a photo of the existing building that's at this location. Here's a street view of the existing building. As you can see, it is an existing building. There's commercial square footage on the main floor, and there's residential units above. If I'm not mistaken, there's 3 residential units at the moment and commercial space on the main floor. So overall, this is just kind of showing you the overall site layout. So it's an existing building. There's no proposed changes to the parking area or to the landscaping. Right now, yes, the Little Gyms is operating in the commercial space on the main floor, and it's operating in the areas that aren't shown in blue. So it's the areas kind of shown here in the white, which is there's a gym floor area, there's an office and a reception area, and the washrooms. What they would like to do is be able to expand their use throughout the remainder of the building. So in this area shown with the circles, this is where they would like to expand. So they'd like to expand their gym floor into the back portion of the building. And then over to one side, they would like to have a multi-purpose room. And as you can see, there's other parts of the building that are already being used for the washroom, the office space, front desk, and viewing area for the parents. So in terms of the planning context, we are within the Beaverbank, Hammonds Plains, and Upper Sackville Municipal Planning Strategy and Land Use Bylaw area. This particular area has a designation of a mixed-use B designation, which recognizes the semi-rural development characteristics of the area and provides for a limited amount of commercial and industrial development. That's to ensure that there's a mix of uses within the area, but also to ensure that scale and compatibility is considered as well. That's why you're seeing that there is the ability to have some square footage devoted to this use, but anything larger than that requires the consultation process and the consideration of council. So through the enabling policy, that is P27, a development agreement to an existing or a new commercial recreation use can be considered by development agreement. The property is zoned a mixed use 1 zone, and it has an existing commercial building and residential. And you can see on this slide here that the area surrounding it is also a mixed use zone with some commercial zoning as you move closer to the Hammonds Plains Road. So as I had indicated, the enabling policy is P27. That is where you can consider the new or an existing commercial expansion to an existing commercial recreation use. And some of the things that need to be considered through that policy criteria is the potential for the development to adversely affect adjacent residential or community facility development. Also the impact of the expansion on traffic circulation and the site suitability, including the existing building, parking, and landscaping. So that's just an overview of some of the policy criteria that we will be considering when looking at this particular application. So we did do some engagement. So the level of engagement completed for this was consultation achieved through a mail out notification in our website. This is the information that Claire was able to collect for you leading right up to Friday. And basically the calls that so we did a notification of about 128 individuals. Claire received about 5 phone calls, and most of those phone calls were, actually all those phone calls were in support of the development, feeling that it was an important use to have within the community. The extra space is needed to allow for more space for the children and the programs that are associated with this use, and also looking at maybe a larger viewing area for parents. Also, in terms of how many people went and looked at the planning application website, we had 58 views actually of the website as well, but only the 5 calls. So in terms of the scope of the review, what we're looking for from the Planning Advisory Committee is please advise of any recommendations or considerations regarding the proposal and take into account the policy pieces that we talked about earlier, which is the P27 policy. And we also have an implementation policy. But the types of things we'd be looking for is the commercial recreation use kind of reasonable within the existing footprint of the building with respect to height, floor area, and the existing residential uses around it? Is there adequate parking, egress, and access to the site? And overall, is it felt to be compatible? One of the things I will advise the committee is we have looked at the parking requirements for the expansion, and there is sufficient parking on site to accommodate that. And with respect to signage, they would have to meet the requirements of the applicable zone in that area. So that is an overview of that particular application. And thank you. And I'll take any questions or comments.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and I have been advised that Councillor Pamela Lovelace is here with us tonight, and she would like to speak to this. So perhaps if she would like to do that now.
Oh, certainly. I was actually going to wait until after the applicant has a word. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
That's all right.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Then I'll begin with the members of the committee, and I'll start with Stacey Rutherham. Questions or comments?
I don't really have any questions. I think it seems that the space has already been mostly used for this purpose, and perhaps the rest of the space has been empty. So making good use of the space might be a good idea, especially if the community is in support of it. So,
okay, thank you very much. Donalda McIsaac.
Yes, I have no concerns. The parking issue was addressed and it's sufficient parking, and I agree. I think it's good use of the building.
Okay, thank you. Jacqueline Levere.
Hi, Madam Chair. I would say that since the community seems to support this and we want to promote children being active, I think in general, just the expansion of having more room makes a lot of sense.
Thank you very much. Okay, and Jordan Foster.
No, nothing to add from like a policy perspective. Thanks.
Thank you. Kathy Diggle-Gammon, Councillor Kathy Diggle-Gammon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have two questions. One is, of the 5 phone calls, were they 5 people from the 128? Just to make sure that the 5 positive comments did come from the notification area. That would be one question. And then my second question is, oh my God, kids being active. Of course, this is great. I'm wondering about the adjacent properties. I know it's zoned mixed use, but do we know what is on the adjacent properties just in terms of neighborhood fits? It does seem the guy, we've looked at some others that are doggy daycares, and people are like, no, we don't want dogs out and yapping in all hours and all that stuff. So I'm just curious about what the adjoining properties and the fit is in the neighborhood.
Thank you for your questions, Councillor. I'll do the last one first. Actually, the surrounding properties are all vacant. There's no development on the adjacent properties and almost 2 properties over.
Right.
I can refer back to a slide if you wish, if that's necessary. And also, we did speak to the applicant to see if maybe an outdoor play area was something that they were considering, but it's my understanding it's not necessarily part of their program. So they are looking for more of that internal space and actually using the existing building. So they're not even really looking for an expansion of the existing building. It's to use the full space within the building, because right now they are limited at the 2,000 square feet. Right. With regards to who called and where they were from of those 5, I'm not 100% sure because Claire would have taken those phone calls, but in my conversations with her, I get the sense that at least a couple of those calls were from within the notification area. Whether or not all of them were, I can't be sure. But again, based on kind of preparation of this and the information Claire had shared with me, I suspect a few were.
Great.
Within the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Otis.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
There were three questions that Thea and Claire put on the presentation. One was compatibility, and I think we've all agreed that there's no issue with that so far. I'd like Thea indicated there was no parking issue. So, I mean, obviously there would be more people coming and going if it was larger, and if there was a larger space for parents to watch them, whatever, there could be some additional parking required. But I just want to confirm that her comments that there's plenty of parking available, and if there is, then of course that doesn't affect the landscaping, etc. So just confirmation of that. And then you mentioned floor height, which we haven't touched on, but I mean, obviously they're not going to be playing basketball, I guess, or whatever. But I didn't know if Thea, I don't recall Thea touching on any sort of restrictions within floor height. So just a quick confirmation on that, and on the parking. But overall, and the dog's in favor apparently. Hopefully, there's a doggy daycare because this one's going out the door in a minute. But I think that overall this looks great, and I'm happy to support.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor. In terms of your questions, I think maybe when I was presenting, I forgot to place a comma in my presentation. So the things that we would look at are height of the building and the overall floor area of the space of that land use. So there is no increase in height of the proposed building. And with regards to the floor area, right now, they do have a permit for the 2,000 square feet. They are permitted to operate within that. But to have a larger operation to go up to that 4,000 square feet, they require the development agreement process. So that's that floor area piece. And from what we can tell, looking at their plans of the building, it would basically use up that whole main floor of the building that's really been designed for a commercial purpose. And then with respect to landscaping and parking, we have looked to see what the parking requirements would be with this expansion, and there is enough parking on site. I actually think there might even be a few extra spaces if necessary. There is a landscaping in the front, but the nature of this property, if for some reason additional parking was needed to support the number of parents that are attending, there is room on site to accommodate that. Their septic field is in the back of the property, and there is some room if necessary, I think, along the side. So that was one of the things that Claire kind of looked at in detail to make sure that we did have sufficient parking, and it's staff's opinion that that can be achieved.
No, that's great. And it's funny the difference a comma can make, eh?
Yeah, sorry about that.
I was trying to think, what are they planning to do in there?
What am I talking about? No, I apologize,
but anyway,
Councillor.
No, this is great, Thea. Thanks very much. And,
I'm rusty.
No further questions. Yeah, that's right. Good to see you back, though.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and Councillor Lovelace, would you like to speak now?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just really wanted to just to give you a picture of how popular this business is right now. There is a long waiting list. We just don't have these kinds of commercial opportunities, these recreation opportunities for children in the Hammond Plains area. So on a Saturday, you'll see parents lined up in a row looking through the window, at the kids as they're going, through and having fun and tumbling and jumping and playing, and learning. And one thing I just wanted to let the committee know that Northwest Community Council has actually put forward a motion to look at how we can adjust some of these zones in the Hammond Plains area, knowing how fast it's growing. We recognize that 2,000 square feet seems quite small, but at the same time, many years ago, when this land use bylaw was put together, it was determined that 2,000 square feet would be a sort of that threshold before we engage the community and look at other opportunities. So I just wanted to let the community know that we are thinking about other opportunities for children in this area, and I do appreciate your support. I have to say, the overwhelming responses that I've received. I know that staff have received responses, but the comments that I've received as well, phone calls, emails, and people just saying, yes, let's do this. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time on this, and thank you to staff for getting this done. And sorry, I think I've got a delivery here at the house.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, I will ask now that anyone who would like to make a motion that with our recommendation on this matter.
I'll move to accept.
That was Jordan.
I'm happy to second, Madam Chair. Tim, you didn't speak, Anne. Did you forget about yourself?
No, I have nothing really to add, except that people that live there are probably glad that the doggy daycare isn't there after listening to what we're hearing. Anyway, no, okay, let's get back to normal here. Thank you very much. And Jordan has moved that we accept the proposal and recommend acceptance of the proposal. And Tim has seconded the motion. So I will now ask all in favor to say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Is contrary minded nay? Hearing none, I will declare the motion carried. And thank you all very much for that. And if the applicant is still with us, I will invite them to leave now. Thank you very much for being here. Now we have one more tonight. We're really doing well so far. And our next case is case number 23824. This is an application by Harvey Architecture on behalf of Northwood Care Bedford Incorporated to amend an existing development agreement to allow a pedway bridge to connect the buildings located at 123 and 185 Gary Martin Drive in Bedford. And this presentation will be given by Melissa Evis. And Melissa, we're seeing your presentation. So if you're ready, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Chair and PAC members. My name is Melissa Evis. I'm a planner with HRM Current Planning in the Urban Enabled Applications Group. Tonight I'll be presenting case 23824, which is an amending agreement at 123 and 185 Gary Martin Drive. So the applicant is Harvey Architecture on behalf of property owners Northwood Care Bedford. The location, as I mentioned, is 123 and 185 Gary Martin Drive, and the proposal is to amend an existing agreement to allow a pedway to connect two existing buildings. The general site location is shown here on the left in red. The site is south of Sandy Lake and on the west side of the Highway 102. The site boundaries are shown on the right, also in red. Adjacent uses include to the north, the BMO Center. To the west is a mix of uses, including some industrial and commercial institutional uses. To the south is vacant land. And across Gary Martin is a low-rise residential community. To the east is low-rise residential and the Charles P. Allen High School. This is a view of the subject site looking north. The structure with the white roof, that's 123 Gary Martin Drive, which is the Ivany Northwood Care Facility, and 185 shown here is the newly constructed apartment building. This is a view of the subject site looking west, and we can see the new building still under construction that was completed last October. So as I mentioned, the proposal is to connect two existing buildings with a pedway. The pedway would measure approximately 197 feet in length. On the Ivany side, the elevation from grade is approximately 16 feet. And on the apartment building side, the elevation of the pedway is approximately 19 feet. There's an asphalt path that that is shown here that will run underneath the pedway, and that's approximately 12 feet in elevation from the pedway. Here's some renderings of the pedway. On the left is the exterior, and on the right is what the interior could potentially look like. These are just images to give you an idea of the type of structure that's being proposed. And the final product will look different, slightly different than this, but this is the intent. In terms of applicable planning policy, both sites are within the Bedford West Secondary Plan, and the sub-designation is institutional, as shown here. There's a small portion of the lands that have an industrial designation. That's this little portion back here. That's not really applicable to the application. The Bedford West Secondary Plan provides guidance for the development of a new community west of Highway 102. The primary enabling policies are BW 35 and BW 32, with consideration given to policies BW 20, 23, 24. Both properties are within the Bedford Land Use Bylaw and zone BWBC, which is the Bedford West Business Campus Zone, with a small portion that I mentioned earlier, which is zoned light industrial. The BWBC zone allows a variety of commercial and institutional uses. The existing use of 123 Gary Martin Drive is the Ivany long-term care facility, which has 156 beds. And the existing use at the 185 Gary Martin Drive is a 73-unit apartment building. So our enabling policies are as follows. BW 20 establishes the sub-areas within the Bedford West Plan. BW 23 establishes the land use designations. In this case, the lands have been designated institutional. BW 24 allows council to consider variations to the standards of the bylaw for Bedford, and allows us to consider including provisions in the DA to ensure that development is functionally and aesthetically appropriate. BW 32 provides guidance on residential development, including building design, and BW 35 allows council to consider residential development on lands designated institutional, which is the case here. In terms of public engagement, consultation included a mail-out notification to 388 people, a newspaper ad, and a virtual meeting was also held, but we didn't get any attendees. I received one email with questions in regards to blasting, but as I advised the person who emailed, blasting isn't a part of this application. And that's all I have for a presentation. I'll take any comments or questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'll start with this time with Jordan Foster for comments or questions.
No questions or comments at this time, thanks.
Thank you. Then Jacqueline Levert.
Madam Chair, I'm just wondering, is there anything in all of those bylaws that this contravenes? As I can understand it from the planner, there is nothing contravening that they would build that piece going across.
Well, the problem is the existing development agreement didn't contemplate a pedway. So there's an existing agreement on the property, doesn't talk about a pedway. So we have to amend the agreement to allow a pedway. The existing zoning also doesn't allow the structure to go right to the property line. So by bringing the Ivany facility into the development agreement and allowing specifically a pedway to exist, we can allow the construction.
I guess I would be of the opinion that anything that can make our senior residents have more activities and more comfort in Bedford and anywhere else at this point is very important in Nova Scotia and in the Halifax region. So if this would allow Ivany House, Northwood, to offer more programs and to include more the people who live in the apartment next door, and to be able, and for the staff to go back and forth more easily, I think that, it's worth doing this amendment for sure.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Donalda McIsaac.
Oh, I think this is a great idea, especially considering the social impact it will have on the seniors. I'm all for it. I think it's great.
Okay, thank you. Stacey Rutherham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Donalda and Jacqueline. Anything that we can do to, enable more development that is conducive to a good social and healthful lifestyle for seniors is really important at this point in time. So I'm in favor of this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Diggle-Gammon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I'm in favor, and I'll tell you why I just think, and I don't know at this moment. And one of the reasons is why wasn't this contemplated in the beginning when they made the development agreement? Was it that they didn't have the property? Was this one of those? I guess I worry about the creep thing, that you got a development agreement, everybody agrees to what it is, but then you come back and you want something else. And so I just would like to know, do we have any background as to why it wasn't part of the original request of a development agreement?
I don't believe the buildings were planned to that level of detail. When the development agreement was established, it allowed for a multiple unit building on the site of the apartment building, the 185. I don't know that Northwood at this point had contemplated what types of facilities. I don't know how far. So, I mean, the secondary plan was approved in 2006, and the DA came in later, but yeah, I don't know how far they were in their planning at that point to get to that level of detail of a pedway to be included in the DA.
Okay. And my other question might be, and I know that the renderings are, not exact, so you're looking at it, but I guess the grade of that headway looks like it changes a little bit. So I'm sure that the engineers all had to look at that. And I'm thinking from an accessibility perspective there on the grade, because it goes from quite high down. So is there any concern around that? I'm just curious.
We didn't look in terms of slope. I'm assuming it's straight across, because the grade basically on the Ivany side, I believe it was, the elevation is 16 feet from grade. And then as you move over to the apartment building, it goes to 18 feet from grade. So I'm assuming they're trying to keep it level. And then in the middle, so the land underneath the asphalt path is about 11. But in terms of accessibility, it's something we can surely put to the applicant to make sure this is fully accessible to all residents.
And final question, the property is all owned by Northwood?
It is, but the way, to my understanding, because that was our first question, was can we just put these properties together? So we don't have to have a pedway crossing property lines. But the way the funding is done through Northwood, there's entities that own Ivany and then entities that own this second parcel that the apartment building is on. So they are under different ownership in terms of different companies or subsidiaries of Northwood, to my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And Councillor Otit.
Thank you, Chair. And listen, great comments from Jacqueline and Stacy and Donalda, because that's exactly, I've been on site and I love this facility. I was in it. I was part of a sod turning. I was in it when the original one was being built, and I was originally, so excited about it and the different colors and everything that everybody was talking about. So it's been a wonderful experience, not only for the people that live there, but it's really become part of the community in West Bedford, and that's a little unusual, I think. But they hold community meetings in their parking lot, community events, and they have the community gardens on their property, and they have tree lightings and all this other thing, and it's just become a really, really great part of Bedford West community. So when I went in the other day, I went into the apartment building that Melissa described, and that was done in partnership with CMHC as well. So it's actually affordable units. So the units in there are brand new, and they're probably $200-$400 a month cheaper than they would be if they were in Larry UTEC or elsewhere, West Bedford, etc. So this is great. This was always planned to have a pedway. It was in the plans. They started building it, and we HRM says, wait a minute, you don't have a pedway permit. They were told to cease and desist building, which they did immediately. All kinds of apologies and embarrassment, and they've come back now to wanting permits, wanting the DA amended and whatnot, complied with stop work, etc., etc. It was always part of the plan, and the goal, like some of my colleagues said on this committee just said, is so you can go to the gym in one building. Staff can go back and forth. You can go and get your hair done, or go to the chapel in one building, go get a meal, etc. Get your hair done, whatever. The back and forth is, and I've seen what's underway there, and it's just completely accessible, and will just make the back and forth for the residents and staff just fabulous. So lessons learned on this. I am absolutely completely in support of this, and I've had absolutely no pushback from the public. And as Melissa said, nobody even contacted us or came to the PIM. So just for clarification, this is something that I think is great, and I plan to support.
Okay, thank you very much. And I have no questions, but I noticed that Jordan, you put a little note in the chat box there. Would you like to just voice that?
Yeah, that was just to kind of elaborate on the question of how steep is the grade, or is there one? And yeah, there is a difference of 2 feet in elevation. So just analyzing the drawing, while some other comments were being made, it indicates a 2.67 degree incline, which is also equal to 1/2 inch increase for every 1 foot horizontal distance. So it means over a 50-foot span, it's rising 2 feet. So that means there's 50 feet that's on a slope. So yeah, it's kind of a long distance for perhaps a wheelchair to roll down and accelerate, but at a very shallow grade comparatively. So I don't know if that makes a difference for anybody, but that's what is indicated in the drawings.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for that clarification. It's something that the rest of us couldn't quite figure out. Okay.
Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah. All right. If there are no other questions and comments, then I will ask for a motion on the, and our recommendation is to.
I'd be happy to move, Madam Chair, that we recommend approval.
Okay. And Donalda is wanting to second. Okay, so moved by Councillor Otit and seconded by Donalda McIsaac that we accept the proposal and recommend its acceptance. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Nay. Motion is carried. And I thank you all very much. And I thank the proponents' representatives, if they were online, for being here. And I will ask them to now leave the meeting. Thank you. And we have finished our business except for the Northwest Planning Advisory Committee meeting schedule. And I hope you all had a chance to look at it. It was sent out with the other papers for this meeting. Basically, first Wednesday of every month, except where the first Wednesday is not available. And you'll notice, I don't think that in that there were any locations mentioned, because we had a discussion about that and really felt that maybe I should let Andrea tell you about this, but we felt that for the winter months, that this is the best way to go by remaining virtual. Simply because we can not have to worry about canceling meetings at the last minute because of a snowstorm, and none of us have to risk our lives trying to get to a meeting if it isn't canceled. So we left it blank, I think, for that reason, and decided that we would look at it again in the spring, and maybe then we could actually get to meet each other in person and see what we look like with masks on. So what I'm asking you now is to someone to make a motion that we accept the schedule of meetings as submitted.
So moved, Councillor Gammon.
Councillor Diggle-Gammon is moving the motion, and a seconder. Donalda McIsaac is seconding the motion. So it's been moved by Councillor Diggle-Gammon and seconded by Donalda McIsaac that we accept the schedule of meetings as presented. And all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, nay. Motion is carried. And other than that, that ends our December meeting. And our next meeting will be held on January 12th. Because of the way the holidays run this year, it will be a little later than it normally is, but it will be January 12th, and it will be same time, same place. And I will now ask for a motion to adjourn.
Happy holidays to all, and thank you.
And is that a motion to adjourn?
And that's a motion to adjourn, yes.
Thank you very much. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you all back in January.
Happy
Happy
holidays.